It's almost like there's, this might sound flaky. It's my favorite term to describe weird sensations. It's almost like there's like a film in front of me, and visually, like, I mean, obviously I'm standing in a Neolithic burial chamber, but it's just like there's something else beyond it, beyond what's in front of me, if that makes any sense.
As Holly and I wrap up our tour of the Cheshire region of the United Kingdom, we investigate two very different locations. The first was a 12,000-year-old Neolithic burial site known as the Bridestones, where there had been sightings of ghostly Druids, missing time incidents, and numerous reports of a phenomenon known as earthlights.
Morning, guys. So, how old is this Mr. Sadler, did you say?
This is...
What is it,
approximately,
and how old is it?
This is a Neolithic burial cairn. A burial cairn obviously is of great importance to somebody who was buried here. It was an important person, and it's called the Bridestones, it's thought, because it was supposed to be a female.
So, are you as excited here as you were at Shot
I
Black?
certainly am, yes. I mean, I love Neolithic burial chambers. I've been around a number of them on investigations. This one is a little bit smaller than I expected, but I'm already intrigued.
So, what's the haunting story, Dave?
First and foremost, there's been a figure which the reportee, the witness, claimed looked like a druid. It was in white. We've also got dark, shapely figures. The UPIA actually themselves have had quite a high EMF spike within the burial cairn itself. Also, a gentleman was travelling on this road. The gentleman stopped to relieve himself, to have a little wee, and in that period of time, he got out of his car. He saw a ball of light emanating from the Bridestones area, electrical, statically charged ball of light, and thereby found himself in the woods adjacent to the south. A number of hours later, he had a complete loss of time. He was half naked. When he got back to his car, he found his clothes were neatly piled up in his car, and they had an electrical, statical charge to them also.
Well, okay, why don't we do this? Why don't you and Steve go snag your gear so we can get the ball rolling on a proper investigation, and Holly and I'll stay here and figure out where we'll set up our DVR cameras. Yeah, all right. Break, team.
Okay.
Let's go Neolithic, Holly.
I'm already there.
It's as close as I get to an action shot. So, what do you say? You feeling anything? Got any vibes? Anything? What do you feel when you get here? When you first walked in? 12,000 years old, give or take.
Paul and the crew began setting up the infrared cameras, so I took the opportunity to have a closer look at the burial chamber. In the short time that we'd been there, I noticed a very strong sense of unease come over me. I don't know if I want to call it anxiety, because I've definitely experienced that before, but it's just this kind of like sensation just kind of hits me of it's kind of a worry, like there's something wrong kind of sensation. And it also, on occasion, transfers into sadness. Something was wrong, is what it felt like. It's almost like there's like a film in front of me, and Visually, like, I mean, obviously I'm standing in a Neolithic burial chamber, but it's just like there's something else beyond it, beyond what's in front of me, if that makes any sense.
While Holly was in the burial chamber, Dave, Steve, and I took the opportunity to set up our generator and infrared cameras before the sun went down.
Got one set up over here. These are what the little fellows look like. Infrared cameras that'll be able to see everything that happens here. And we've got another one set up down over there on that wall. And we've got 3 set up in and around the Bridestones monument itself. So hopefully something happens because we're equipped to film it tonight.
Once the cameras were set up, Dave and Holly began their investigation in the burial chamber, while Steve and I headed out into the surrounding field in the hopes of witnessing some form of paranormal activity.
There's something about this field, is there?
Yeah, right running parallel next to the Bridestones, we have a field where there's a geological fault which passes right through the centre, which is only 100 yards away, literally, from the Bridestones. As it reaches down to the bottom of the field, we have another fault, which is copper, and there was obviously a lot of mining maybe at some stage around here. And these geological faults are renowned basically for Earth-like phenomena, those sort of experiences. Balls of light.
Natural phenomena.
It's a natural phenomenon, yeah. Many people would report over a period of time that they see balls of light, and they're gaseous. They tend to be plasma, burning a range of colours, usually white, yellow, orange, those sort of colours, and sometimes they'll seem to be moving. Many years ago, people used to refer to them as UFOs. You thought they were unidentified flying objects in the sky. Very similar to swamp gas, but that's a gaseous ignition.
So could this account for, if you go back far enough in myth and legend, especially in the United Kingdom, things like Will-o'-the-Wisp? And
Most definitely,
yeah.
Most definitely, yeah. We would have had the reports of those type of experiences, Will-o'-the-Wisp you could call it, or even fairies, gentry. I mean,
Really?
a lot of people will misinterpret the phenomena. I think over the last sort of 10 years, we've really got to grasp on this phenomena now. And we do know that it does actually happen. It's been recorded, it's been filmed, photographed, and even done in an experimental chamber on a smaller degree.
The theory that the paranormal experiences reported at the Bridestones could be explained by the surrounding geography made sense to me, but I was still curious as to whether it could explain the story of the man with the missing time.
It could simply be a natural phenomenon. It's adversely affected somebody who was passing by at the time. A huge amount of EMF, or should we say GMF, geological magnetic phenomena.
Right.
It's the same thing, but it's generated from the ground. And if you're caught in that, it could adversely affect your mind. And you could also obviously claim to have had missing time as well. So you can understand how people could misinterpret that phenomenon.
So you could bring in the idea that potentially earthlights, or the phenomenon that causes earthlights, would create something that might look like a fairy or a sprite or whatever, any of these mythological creatures we might have. At the same time as that phenomenon or something related to it might be causing a missing time thing. And today we call those UFOs. 500-600 years ago, they might have said, look, these are people who are taken away by the fairies and sprites for a period of time and then return from the fairy kingdom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as you go through the eras, you'll find that there's very similar accounts, but they're interpreted completely different. At one time it would have been fairies, at another time it would have been spirits of their ancestors, another time it would have been paranormal. Some people refer to it as UFO. It's so many different things.
In my opinion, any ghost investigation where you can come up with some answers is worthwhile, even if those answers aren't paranormal in nature. The great thing about the UPIA is that they take the exact same approach.
A rational explanation is just as advantageous to us as it was something unusual.
I wonder if the ancients stood in a field of poo. That's cow dung.
Hopefully not.
Cow dung or whatever it is that we have here. Okay, well, maybe we should go back and see what Holly and Dave.
Yes, yeah, I'd love to find out.
Like I was saying earlier, the nice thing is about the smallness of the space, that those DVR cameras, we've got the thing covered from every angle. So if there is anything tonight,
We should hopefully
we should have it. All right, let's be careful where we walk. Ugh.
When Ghost Cases returns, Holly and I continue our investigation of the Bridestones. Holly and I continue our investigation of the Bridestones.
Hey guys,
Hi,
What's
Holly.
up?
I got a question for you.
Oh, right.
Steve, because no offense, Paul, but I don't know if you know the answer.
Not my area.
But,
of expertise. All right, I'll tell you what. You guys talk. I'm going to go in and spend a little time with the Bridestones on my own.
all right, don't get in the way.
I won't.
I was just watching the screen for a little while.
Right.
After I was done with Dave there, and in this field over here, it was at about 8:01 according to the clock. I saw what looked like a series of 4 or 5 lights in a row.
Oh, yeah.
And they appeared, I was looking at something else, but I looked over, I saw them right about here in the screen. They were all in a line, not vertical necessarily, but they moved in sync. So not like an orb moved by itself, they moved together,
Right.
and they kind of went, and it could have just been a light on the thing, but they moved kind of this way off into the distance and behind the rock there.
Oh, that's interesting you mentioning that, because I've just been talking to Paul about this location, and now it's often referred to as a place where Earth-like phenomena takes place. Now, Earth-like phenomena can be little balls of light which are generated. They come from the ground, standing stones, areas where there are geological faults, just like here, and they seem to rise to the surface and can be seen to be like little bright balls of light.
Yeah, that's what they look like.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting you mentioning that, because this vicinity, the people have reported those exact same things before.
But they're explainable.
Oh yes, yeah, they're explainable.
Do they normally move in groups?
And sometimes they've been seen to be moving in groups, 3 or 4 of them.
Really?
In fact, yes, yeah,
Well, that's really interesting because that's definitely recorded.
that's fantastic. Because at some time we could go back and look at that.
Oh, absolutely. And I noted the time,
Excellent.
so we can go back and take a look at it. But I thought maybe someone had a light shining, but then again, that would have caused the infrared to cancel itself out. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
let's hope that we get some more.
absolutely. Thanks for the
Brilliant.
explanation. I was just
brilliant.
completely.
Good viewing.
Thanks. There was no question that I'd seen some strange lights over the field, but our cameras didn't pick it up, which I thought was odd. Steve's explanation was rational, but it didn't explain my growing feeling of apprehension, nor the severity of the headache I was now experiencing.
In contrast to Holly's feelings of unease, I felt great at the Bridestones. We didn't find anything paranormal there, but I was really inspired by the location.
There is a poetry to a place like this that if you haven't had a chance to experience it, a place that makes Stonehenge look like a kindergarten student in terms of age, that when you come to a place like this, there is a sense of poetry and also, I think, a sense of purpose. And it makes you think about your own purpose. And if nothing else, paranormal or not, that's a good thing. And that's something we should all keep in the forefront of our minds. And a place like this does that to you. No question. And you don't have to be new agey or anything. You just have to be a human being capable of taking a sense of perspective and thinking about a world that is bigger than your own, and thinking about time as a continuum, your place in it, but also thinking of it as not just a linear construct, but perhaps something that circles in around itself. Who knows? But it really does start making you think about the way time is structured and the way we're structured and our place in that sense of time, our place here and our purpose here. And I think those are probably the same questions in their own way that the people who built this were asking 12,000 years ago. And I hope, because I'm a humanist at my core, that those are the questions that people will be asking 12,000 years from now, and that we're still here to do it, or given 12,000 years, maybe we're out there somewhere doing it. But wherever we are, we'll still be amazed at places like this, people that came before, and what someday may come after us.
The day after our trip to the Bridestones, Paul and I headed into the city of Manchester, to the home of Manchester Radio Online. Dave Sadler informed us that the building containing the radio station was allegedly haunted, and he arranged for Paul and I to not only investigate the location, but also to make a special appearance on the radio station's Saturday night paranormal broadcast hosted by Paul Ripley and Tony Filer.
We do talk to witnesses beforehand. Each episode's done in a different way. So we have research packets. We know the general story, obviously. You don't just want to show up at a place like this and go, I hear you've got ghosts. What kind of ghosts? We have demons. Bye. Occasionally I do run away because I'm cowardly. But, I mean, if it is a demon from hell coming at me, I'm not going to stick around.
Has that actually happened?
No, because I leave, so I don't know. I don't know. The demon gets there and goes, they told me he'd be here, but he's gone.
Being on live radio is a fairly new experience for me, but not for Paul. He was completely in his element discussing the paranormal with Paul Ripley and Tony Filer.
You can't, there's no evidence whatsoever, I don't believe, that anything has ever existed and come back and haunted anyone. There's no evidence, otherwise you wouldn't be doing your job now.
There are things I think that we can't explain, so that makes them paranormal by their very definition. That doesn't mean they can't be explained. It just means we don't have the evidence in some cases, or we might not have the scientific knowledge. And ghosts are an interesting question, that sort of these ghosts or poltergeists or anything like that. You can play with all the theories you want. Most people would assume that they're the spirits of the dead. Or it could all have a prosaic explanation, that if we have more research and look into it in a scientific way, we might be able to explain it and understand it better.
After about an hour on the radio, Paul and I started the investigation. Dave and Paul went upstairs to a room that was supposedly once a bordello, while Steve and I concentrated our efforts in the basement, where back in the early 20th century, a man was allegedly brutally beaten.
I've done a full sweep around the full perimeter of both of these rooms in the cellar. I haven't picked up anything on the negative ions as yet.
Okay.
I actually expected, because I thought some of the carpeting on the walls and the ceiling and the floor that we've got here, because it's just everywhere, would have had some traces of nylon in it, because nylon is it's a culprit for causing negative ions.
Really?
Yeah, we picked up negative ions in nylon quite a few times, such as shower curtains, certain carpets, and usually give a trace, but we're not getting anything in here on the negative ion meter.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a sweep with the microwave radiation
Sure.
meter.
I'm going to take a look at EMF.
And see if we can get anything.
This is the corner over here that we've been told potentially is where the man was brutally beaten.
Yeah.
And apparently there is historical evidence to back that up.
Yeah, I mean, what we're pretty much getting on the camera, and we possibly are picking up also on the infrared, is a lot of dust orbs which seem to be floating around.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I think what we're doing is, because it's pretty much carpet everywhere, it's going to absorb dust into it from every direction. So whilst we're moving around, we're kicking up dust.
Yeah.
And so it is to be expected that we're going to get some dust orbs.
Likely. We'll likely see that on our DVR, which we also have set up monitoring this area over here. Getting some readings off the walls over there, but there's electrical wiring, so...
Whereabouts? Are they there concurrently all the time? Oh, yeah. What sort of readings are we getting on them? We're getting a point...
Hold on. 1.8, it jumped... There it goes.
Yes, 3.5, 4.5. Can we follow it a little? Does it actually reach a ridiculous amount, or...?
You mean go off the charts kind of thing?
Well, if we're looking for... If we get up to 10... Yeah, I think the highest we've had is about 0.7. I mean, 0.7 over a duration of time. I mean, this is what we find in a lot of buildings, that the wiring causes long-term EMF to be produced.
When Ghost Cases returns, Holly and Steve discover something potentially more hazardous than any ghost. Holly and I continue our investigation of the radio station in Manchester, England.
Getting nothing on the microwave radiation detector, so we're looking like we've not got no leakage.
One, two. Oh, can I I get some light over here? Oh. Oh, so there's like a whole other space back there.
Oh.
It's covered off with the carpeting, and we're probably not really supposed to go back there, she says as she looks.
Interesting.
Oh, weird. Let me just flip this over the other way. Oh, and now I've gone and ripped part of it off. Well, it doesn't go very far,
No.
but you can certainly see the foundations.
Yeah. Do you want to take a couple of snaps whilst you're in there?
Sure.
Holly?
Sure.
Just
Let me do it.
just point and press.
Whoa. Low light, real. Let me just take this side. Creepy corners. Hey, you want to do any sweeps in here? It's a very small space, and I'm afraid I'm going to pull out these nails. Wiring, that's really high.
Is it?
20, 48, 50,
Sorry?
40, 50.
Oh. Whoa. That's not good. That's not healthy at all. That spike you got. 45.
Not healthy, like I should take my hand away, not healthy?
No, basically, if you've got 45, you'd only have to spend about, 20 minutes in that field at 45.
In that field?
In that field, about 20 minutes.
And then what?
That'd be enough to make you a little bit disorientated, feel a little bit nauseous.
But you'd actually have to be
anticipation.
standing. You'd have to
would,
stand
yeah.
in that
I mean,
space. We're up to 69. It's jumping.
69.
It's jumping between 30 and 50.
Yeah, they definitely need the wiring sorting out, really.
As with the Bridestones, Steve and I had discovered a non-paranormal explanation for alleged paranormal activity. The electrical wiring in the basement of the radio station had created an area of abnormally high electromagnetic field activity, which could explain the reports of ghosts seen and heard in the room.
Very high.
So ghost investigation, perhaps not conclusive tonight in any way, shape, or form, but health and safety disaster averted.
Oh yeah, and this is part of the thing we do, Paul. I mean, a lot of the things, we've picked this up in the past. I've been involved in an investigation in the past where an entire farm, British farm, had to be rewired, and we had all sorts of manweb and all sorts there, the British energy authorities. And because of the severity of the EMFs, which was proven to be affecting one of the members of the family, the whole farm had to be rewired. And after it was rewired and everything was fixed, the health increased better.
Good work, guys.
Excellent.
Thank you.
We've got lots of DVR to go over, so...
Yeah, we've got quite a lot of photographs, and obviously we put some details down on our sheet. We're now doing the perimeter tests, so...
And we've also got a lot of our own footage, which obviously we're making available to the crew.
Check that as well, yeah.
Negative ions, they're still negative. They're still very upset about something.
Up here is still EMF up here. Radiation is still radiation free.
We hadn't found any ghosts at either the Bridestones or the Manchester radio station, but we did discover some answers, and that's really what ghost investigation is all about.
Holly and I had an amazing time working with Dave and Steve and the rest of the UPIA during our week in the United Kingdom. Some of the sites we visited, like the radio station and the Bridestones, had non-paranormal explanations for the reports of ghostly activity, but there were others, like Schochlack Church and the White Hart Hotel, where we experienced some truly surreal events for which we still cannot find a rational explanation. Working with real professionals like the folks from the UPIA was a great learning experience for both Holly and I, and we can't wait to return to England sooner rather than later, for it's truly a magical land, rich in both history and hauntings.
Hello, Lottie. Here comes 100 years of bad luck.
Who is it? Paul, that better be you. Found it.
Yeah, I know.
It's a good job.
Inside, let's meet the house and let's get game button going on here.
Step on my heels. Yeah, don't forget to watch your feet this time.
Located near Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, Churchill Mansion was built as a summer home by legendary seaman and shipbuilder Aaron Flint Churchill in the 1890s. For the past couple of decades, Churchill Mansion has been an historic inn, during which time it has gained a reputation as one of Nova Scotia's most haunted locations. This made it the perfect place for Holly and I to spend a couple of nights in November 2008. Upon our arrival, we were given a tour of the mansion by the owner, Bob Benson.
Welcome to Churchill Mansion.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to show you some of our proper rooms, our guest rooms, starting with room number 1, which you've probably heard in some of the history of Churchill Mansion.
That would be Lottie's room, yes?
That's Lottie's room, yes. That's Lottie's room. Lottie may be here this evening. We
Maybe
don't know.
here.
Some of our guests have quite experience with Lottie.
Should we knock?
Well, I think she probably knows we're coming.
Oh, good.
But this is it. That's a queen bed and a double bed.
Nice.
They tell us that Lottie's over here in the corner, but
Over there.
I don't see her, but some do.
Just your ball?
No, I don't see her. But
Well-
people have seen her in their dreams,
Yes, that's
apparently, in
right.
here. Is that
A
true?
lot of dreams here, and a lot of stories. Like one lady had dreams of a baby crying, the sound of the baby all evening, and told me about it in the morning. But and several have bad feelings about the dressing room.
The dressing room?
Yes,
The,
which was the dressing room,
the
I should say,
bathroom.
the bathroom. And Lottie may have protected herself, stabbed a servant. We're not sure just exactly what took place there.
she
but
stabbed someone?
That's what we're told.
Enjoy.
But we don't
This room
tell.
is yours.
We don't
Thank
tell
you.
all our guests that.
Yeah,
so.
no, I can see
If
that.
you
yeah.
ask for it,
Yeah,
and
no,
he
no.
Is there any chance I can get a non-haunted room or no? I guess there's
They're
another.
scarce.
There's
They're
another.
scarce.
There's another room that's supposed to be particularly haunted. Aaron
Yes,
Churchill's
that's
room,
right,
which is the
yes.
one I'm getting.
We can show you that.
lead us on to
Okay,
that one?
we'll go to that one.
This one's all yours, though.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you.
We'll go down and have a look at Aaron's room. It's another option that you might like.
This is my room. Yes.
Oh,
Not
yes,
haunted.
that's right. Aaron's room.
It's not haunted, right?
Well, I don't know. The ladies seem to like Aaron's room very
Good
much.
luck with that, Paul.
And Aaron,
I'm staying in this room. How did the men do in here?
well, I don't know. Not as well as the ladies, so we're told.
That's unfortunate. So, so Aaron Churchill, this was originally his room.
This was originally his room, yes.
And what's the story? A bit of the story behind this room.
A lot of the ladies do seem to sleep very well. Some have dreams about Aaron, I guess, apparently.
Ooh, kind of
And,
dreams.
Well, I'm not sure, but a variety.
Of her.
But they all seem to be very happy.
And do people report having felt his presence in this room when they're here, or?
Oh, yes, some do. Some do. It depends on what's in your mind, perhaps.
What's in your mind, Paul?
What's in my mind are those velour pillows and everything. This is the honeymoon suite now.
This is the honeymoon
folks, right?
suite. That's right. There's a balcony through the
Ooh,
door
nice.
here. Hmm.
And the jacuzzi tub, apparently.
Yes, that's right.
So I get the room with the people who have died, and you get the honeymoon suite.
You get the haunted bathroom, I get the jacuzzi tub. Proper thing. I finally made it to a honeymoon suite. Excellent. Although I've been to a honeymoon suite concert, but that's a different thing. So Bob, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about who Aaron Churchill was.
Aaron Churchill was born in Yarmouth and became very, very wealthy in cotton shipping and banking in Savannah, and came back and built this actual building as his summer cottage, in which he lived 6 weeks a year, some years, until 1920, at which time he died. And then the mansion was vacant for many years after that.
We were just in Lottie's room. Lottie was Aaron Churchill's niece?
And perhaps his daughter. She was known as his daughter, traveled with him as his daughter.
Yeah, well, I guess
So, okay.
that's it. We're just going to hang out here,
All right.
plan the rest of our evening.
Very good.
Our strategy, as it were.
All right.
But thanks for showing us Aaron's room and Lottie's room. These would be the two sort of most haunted rooms. Most
That's
people
correct.
think.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Well, we
well.
consider, yes, most haunted. If you have any questions, come down and we'll talk about it.
After we finished our tour of the inn with Bob, Paul and I sat down to map out the game plan for our 2 nights of ghost investigating at the mansion.
We'll use our trusty tape recorders to try and find audio phenomena.
And set up DVRs.
And the DVRs.
Where do you
We'll
want to set up
those
DVRs?
My room, which was Aaron's room. Lottie's room, which is your room.
Maybe the hallway.
The hallway would be good. And I don't know, we'll find one other place to set it up. Maybe downstairs somewhere.
By the picture, perhaps?
By the picture. Sounds good to me.
All right.
All right,
So,
let's
first
do
things
it.
first.
Yes. What?
Let's go to the honeymoon suite. Man, come on.
Oh.
We set up our DVR cameras in several different areas and then headed down to the living room to interview Karen McGill, who worked at the mansion and had done a lot of historical research on the location. As she was telling us about a number of strange noises that had been reported at the mansion, we heard a door slam from a nearby empty room.
Okay, I'm sorry, but what is that noise over there? Okay, that's like where I'm talking about this happening.
Is it not you playing with your feet on the cover?
I know, but I'm talking about like I could hear it come through that door.
Yeah, but the door was closed, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And now it's open.
Karen was quite disturbed by what had happened, particularly the timing of it, and she asked if we could take a break and continue the interview later. So we brought Bob Benson in to discuss the tragic life of Aaron Churchill's niece Lottie, whom he raised as his own daughter.
Lottie may have stabbed a couple of people throughout her life. One was here at Churchill Mansion, and maybe a male servant, and maybe he deserved to being stabbed. That was picked up on, or has been at different times, by different psychics, as well as maybe a bit of history bears that out also. In Savannah, Georgia, supposedly she stabbed a maid in the house in Savannah. And that's documented in Savannah and recorded in a ghost publication of how she had murdered a person there. So all of this added to a very confusing life for Lottie or Lotta. And she did eventually have a breakdown and was put in Belmont Hospital, a psychiatric hospital in the Boston area. It became a way of life for her completely, as far as we can tell. And actually then they bought her another mansion that she was living in, and I think the hospital looked after her at this mansion on Cape Cod. So she had the very best of things in that regard, but not the very best as far as her family existence in her life.
The spirit of the place is really strong, so whether that's just because they're here and they're thinking about the story, and the story of Lottie is so emotional that, you know, it affects people deeply, and that may be part of the reason of what's causing these strong dreams. All the dreams are different. There's not usually a pattern to them. Each one seems to have a completely different message.
When Ghost Cases returns, Holly and I continue our investigation of Churchill Mansion. Holly and I continue our investigation of Churchill Mansion.
the interview with Karen, Paul and I decided to call it a night. I tried to fall asleep, but I had an overwhelming feeling that there was someone else in the room with me. It was so strong, and it made me so uncomfortable that I needed to speak to Paul, and it could not wait until morning.
I'd never seen Holly quite so shaken before. She was almost on the verge of tears. We chatted for about half an hour and she finally fell asleep. I nodded off shortly thereafter, but the DVR cameras kept rolling and recorded what became a very strange and disturbing evening.
Throughout the entire evening, the cameras recorded one of the most restless nights I have ever experienced.
Holly wasn't the only one who found Lottie's room uncomfortable. Shortly after I fell asleep, I was suddenly woken up by a very intense chill. I had been lying on top of the blankets, but I quickly pulled them over me.
Meanwhile, as Paul and I were trying to get a decent night's sleep in Lottie's room, our DVR camera in the hallway picked up the door to one of our crew members' rooms opening and closing with no explanation. Back in Lottie's room, I was still having trouble sleeping. I remember feeling cold and trying to pull the blankets up around me and roll over, but found them weighted down around me. It was almost as if there was a person in the bed next to me. Now, if you look closely, it appears as if there is an unusual indentation, almost as if there is someone lying there. It was almost as if I knew something was wrong, because shortly afterwards I woke up. I could definitely feel something or someone in the room with me. I had felt uneasy at Churchill Mansion when I first arrived, but sleeping in Lottie's room that first night made it even worse. I felt as if I was being watched, often from the corner where Lottie had been seen, and it was not a pleasant experience. I eventually managed to get back to sleep, but I continued to have strange and disturbing dreams about Aaron and Lottie Churchill.
Holly and I woke up the next morning to discover that a snowstorm had hit the area overnight. We had to make a quick trip into Yarmouth for some food, and during the slow drive over the icy roads, Holly told me about the dream she had experienced.
So you had a weird dream about Lottie last night?
I had a number of dreams about Lottie last night, actually. Actually, I think you were there for one of them.
What, in the dream?
Yeah. Well, we were in the room. We were, I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah. Oh, well,
When we got back to Churchill Mansion, Holly went upstairs to check on her email, while I decided to follow up on what had happened the night before with a little experiment of my own. I wanted to make use of the photo of Lottie that was hanging in the living room, which Bob had informed us was never moved, because to do so would inevitably lead to strange things happening.
Yeah, Lottie's picture came into the house one August afternoon, and immediately after that, for the next 3 days, and those were the years when tourism was great and we were booked full in advance, we had cancellations straight for 3 days. And I said, the only thing that's changed is Lottie's picture is here. I had the staff take her down, put that picture away, and everything resumed. 6 weeks later, I gave Lottie a talking to. We put her back on the wall. That's where she remains. We tried to move her at one point, and the same thing happened again as far as cancellations. So she's happy in that one corner. There's energy from that picture. If you should go there with a divining rod, the energy from that picture is very, very obvious. Much more so than the other picture hanging on any wall in the entire mansion. Explain it, I can't, but it's there.
Hello, Lottie. Here comes 100 years of bad luck.
I can't, hold on. Who is it? Paul, that better be you.
Hi, Holly.
Paul Lottie.
Pilates. I could do some Pilates. So here we have the 100 Years of Bad Luck for Paul and one night of spookiness for Paul and Holly.
You're bringing Lottie in here.
I'm bringing Lottie's, well, Lottie may already be in here.
No, she is.
Bringing her picture in here.
Yep.
To leave as sort of an object that may inspire Lottie, if she isn't here, to do whatever Lottie does. And is that a new chair?
Yeah, that's the haunted rocking chair.
You got a haunted rocking chair?
I do. It rocks by itself, apparently. They had to take it out of here because it was scaring the guests, and they put it up in the attic. But for me, they've brought it back down.
Guess what I've got?
Jacuzzi?
Yes, I have one of those, and I also have a haunted key.
The key to the den?
That's right.
The den that no one was allowed to enter?
Apparently.
Ah, where are we putting this?
The Widow's Walk, upstairs.
Why?
I don't know. It seems that's where Lottie or other women would have waited to see if their sailor captain sort of people would have come back in. So it might be a place of high energy. And even if it's not a place of high energy, it's really cool and spooky looking. So.
Good science.
Yes.
All right, get out of my room, let's go.
All right, fine. See you later, Lottie. Enjoy.
Oh, we'll be back. Actually, my room, Lottie's room.
All right, to the Widow's Walk.
Watch your head. Oh, this is nice.
Many people have gone up to the Widow's Walk. They have not felt comfortable going up the stairs or when they've got there, and almost to the point there was a real force when they got to the top. I have a really good friend that has hardly ever come in the front door because she does not feel comfortable coming over the area where there may have been a murder committed, and that, out of Aaron's or Lottie's room, I should say.
All right, so the deal with this key, it's apparently it's never ever left the property. Well, this isn't marking so well. People have actually thought that they've left with it and then apologized, said they would return it.
Yeah.
And then Bob's gone out and found it in the grass somewhere.
I think that's probably good enough. We know where it is, so there we are. We've marked it with white chalk.
Chalk.
Yeah. Let's see for a sec.
What you doing?
And just.
I could see that.
So if it's gone tomorrow when we come back up here, or later today rather, then something may have happened, and we've got a camera right here monitoring this room. So if anybody comes in here, or if Holly or I or somebody else were to come in here and try and sneak move it, that camera's going to pick it up. So if that thing gets moved, the only thing that could have moved it would be something paranormal. So we'll check tomorrow. All right? When Ghost Cases returns, Holly and I conclude our investigation of Churchill Mansion.
But I find it strange you don't feel anything.
Holly and I continue our investigation of Churchill Mansion in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia.
After Paul and I finished placing the key in the Widow's Walk, I tracked down Bob and asked if I could have a chat with him about Lottie's room. I was still thinking about what I had experienced the night before, and I was having trouble coming to grips with a very profound feeling of sadness. People have commented and said that they felt Lottie, they felt her presence, they felt a weight in their room. Have they commented on the emotion attached to that? Is there an emotion, or is it just more of an energy?
I don't know if there's any particular emotion. I don't. I think maybe we may hear different opinions of that too from different people. I don't think, other than there seems to be always a sadness. I guess I forgot about that part. They do talk about Lottie being sad. There's a feeling there of sadness.
During our journey together, I've developed the greatest respect for Holly's emotional resiliency, often in the face of some very stressful situations. In fact,
I've come to rely on it to bolster my own courage when facing the unknown. She's normally a rock, which is why I was very concerned about the way that Churchill Mansion seemed to be affecting her. More than once, off camera and away from the crew, she broke down in tears and told me that she had no idea why she was feeling the way that she did, but that something about the house was clearly overwhelming her. As she talked to Bob, Holly hid her emotions well, but as we began our investigation that night in Aaron's room, I felt that I had to try and lighten the mood and put her more at ease.
See, I'm still stuck on the one back in Lottie's room where I was going to tell you that she was there.
Really? That would have been cool if you'd told me when we were in Lottie's room.
See, now I think that's creepy.
What? What's creepy?
Well, because then you'd ask me how I know, and I don't.
Well, it's not creepy. How is that creepy that I'd ask her how you know? I wouldn't have asked how do you know. Actually, you know what I did? That you don't know me very well. It's not what I would have asked at all. I wouldn't have said that at all. I would have just assumed, you know, maybe you're nuts, or maybe you're not. But I would have just assumed that you're feeling something. I wouldn't say, how do you know? Because you prefaced it by saying, I'm feeling something. So.
But I find it strange you don't feel anything. Do you choose not to?
Well, maybe there's nothing to feel.
Potentially. There's always something to feel.
I feel hungry. Hungry for love. Must be the bed.
Okay.
Where
Paul, don't you see how creepy that is?
Absolutely. That's not going in the show. I just thought I'd give Nathan or Aaron or somebody a little chuckle out there. Somebody's got to be listening.
I'm listening. I'm listening. I could tell what Paul was doing, and I really appreciated it. It definitely helped me feel a bit more at ease. Nothing anomalous happened in Aaron's room, so we called it a night. I didn't feel nearly as uncomfortable in Lottie's room the second night. Now, partly because of Paul, but also partly because of Lottie herself. I felt like it was almost as if we understood each other somehow, and she was okay with me being there.
All was quiet on the second night. The next morning, Holly and I checked on the Widow's Walk, where we found the key in the exact same position that we had left it in the night before. As we packed up our gear after a very interesting couple of days and nights at Churchill Mansion, there was one thing I had left to do. So we're putting the picture back after a relatively uneventful night. Wait, Holly? Lottie wanted to say goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, Holly.
Bye, Lottie.
Goodbye, Holly.
Great, Paul.
There we go. Back she goes.
How do you know it was uneventful? It's my room. Well, no, it was her room, actually.
There she is.
Yep.
We didn't record anything at Churchill Mansion on either our audio or video equipment that we can definitively state was paranormal in nature. However, strange things, like the doors opening and closing without an explanation, definitely occurred. Most important to me is what Holly experienced. It was profound and powerful, and at times overwhelming. My faith in Holly's good judgment is so great that if she feels she encountered the spirit of Lottie Churchill, I believe her. As for Lottie herself, if she is still in Churchill Mansion, she isn't malevolent, just sad, confused, and lonely, much as she had been when she was still alive. All that Holly and I could do as we left was offer our hopes that someday she will finally find some peace.